Welcome to the Growth Boss Podcast, where we seek out the secrets to high-performing campaigns from some of the smartest marketers in the world. I'm your host, Jared Smith. Today, I have Kris Beltins with me, and he's going to teach us how to scale with top-of-funnel campaigns via Google Shopping and YouTube ads. Kris is an expert in helping direct-to-consumer e-commerce brands grow new customer revenue through non-branded Google Shopping and YouTube ads. With over 20 million in ad spend and 200 million in revenue for 47 brands, Kris has developed the 50-30-20 Google Ads framework, which focuses on scaling with non-branded shopping, search, and YouTube ads. Many e-commerce brands struggle to scale Google Ads because their agencies don't separate branded from non-branded campaigns or even test new approaches, leading to inflated ROAS and stagnant growth. Kris's approach drives real results by focusing on the right strategies to help brands reach the next level. Kris, thanks for being here today.
Pleasure to be here.
Awesome. So I want to start off actually I love what my podcast producer, that she writes all these and kind of pulls them from LinkedIn and wherever. There's a huge emphasis for you on non-branded campaigns. Anytime I jump into a friend's campaign or somebody reaches out like, Jared, can you take a look at my stuff? I find so much waste. And they're like, why am I not getting results? I'm like, first of all, you have no brand, but like more than half of your budget's going to a branded campaign or whatever it is. So I really appreciate your focus on top of funnel results. Walk me through, like, how did that come to be where you're like, listen, man, I'm really going to be the top of funnel guy. Obviously, there's a place for branding. I don't want to diminish that entirely. I just feel like a lot of PPC people tend to waste spend in that area.
Yeah, that's a good point, and I appreciate you bringing it up. That's definitely what we see still in the accounts that we either audit or take over, which is also how it came to be our sort of messaging that we're using, because there's just so many people that come to us and they're like, they've already lost trust in Google, or they just don't see Google as a top of funnel channel. They think that it's just brand search. They think that it's just remarketing. And that also depends on the niche that you're in, right? Because for some brands, Meta is still number one, but for a lot of brands, Google is actually number one.
Yeah.
So yeah, it just came from, I think, a lot of pivoting, a lot of experience, and a lot of calls where people are upset.
Yeah. And if any business owner out there, obviously it does feel like Meta is the go-to these days. I don't really understand that because, I mean, literally you have people that are searching Google for the type of product, that everybody sells. Google just tends to perform so exceptionally well, at least in everything I've ever tried. So if Meta is something that you have a lot of confidence in and you've been burned maybe in the past, working with somebody new that has experience with e-commerce brands and shopping campaigns within Google, I think is a good move. So Kris, before you start with a client, either with a shopping campaign or a YouTube ads campaign, what are some of the kind of fundamentals that you want to make sure are in place before you even dive into an account?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's a little bit of everything, to be honest. It definitely is the website, because that's, the ads can be as good as they can be, right? But like if it's a bad website, then it's also like the ads are not going to do well either. So definitely checking the website, just how the PDP looks like. Do we have good collection pages? How is the whole checkout process? And then also email, because a lot of the things I do talk a lot about top of funnel, but there's also a lot of value obviously in retention. And I just want to make sure that the clients also have good email marketing set up. And then also, of course, Meta, because a lot of the assets, and I'll probably just go into that later as well, but a lot of the assets that brands usually have on Meta can be just reused on Google or kind of translated to Google. So those three things I would probably check the most, or like do a little audit on them the most before actually jumping into Google Ads stuff.
Sure. And so when you put your CRO or conversion optimization hat on, you're looking at the PDP. What are some of the most common things where you're like, okay, we got to make sure you have this on there, or a couple things to ensure you're getting great results?
I think nowadays it's really interesting to see that well-performing brands sometimes even come to us and they have really bad product pages, or like really bad websites in general. They look like they are from the 2005, like nothing is really interactive or like smooth. So like definitely the design in general I find that it needs to be upgraded from 2005.
Right.
But also just like, of course, all the usual stuff like reviews, like good like CTAs everywhere, product pictures, all that stuff. And also, of course, like descriptions full of keywords and titles, all that really also makes a difference. So yeah.
Okay, good. So once a client kind of has their product landing pages, category pages optimized from a conversion standpoint, and you're ready to kind of dive into the campaign, let's start with Google Shopping and Google in general. What are kind of the basics that you want to make sure that are in place, and then we'll move on to maybe some more advanced features.
So the basics would definitely, or where we usually start is the foundation, what we call it, which is basically conversion tracking, all the remarketing tags, and also customer lists. Because this is just
Mm.
literally the foundation of the whole house, right? Like you need to have it in order. Everything needs to be flowing smoothly, and you need to also have customer lists updated because that just really helps Google not only remarket or like retarget the customers, but also just learn what the customers look like, right? So definitely starting with the foundation before moving into the actual campaign setup.
Okay. And then what do you move on to next?
So the next would be, yeah, actually before even the campaign setup, definitely a very, very, very important part is the feed optimization,
Mm,
which also is something that not many, I haven't seen many people talk about that, or like at least talk about it as much as I think they should, because it's
yeah.
just so important to have everything correct in the product feed optimization, right? From this is all Google Merchant stuff, basically, from like product titles to product images, uploading reviews, making sure the shipping settings are correct, uploading GMC promotions, and basically giving all the product attributes like the size, color, gender, even that kind of stuff. All of that giving to Google, usually through an app that, yeah, the one I usually use is Simprosys for Google Shopping. So that's a really good app to kind of just make bulk edits to your feed and optimize it. So it's as good as possible for Google Shopping.
Yeah, I don't hear a lot of people talk about feed optimization either. What sort of impact can that have on a campaign? And maybe you have like before and after, or some sort of little case study you can share on that.
Yeah, for sure. What I like to usually talk about when it comes to this is that this is something that when you fix, it will increase your results by not even touching the spend, right? Because you
Mm,
still might be spending the same or even less sometimes. But because your ads are just higher quality and your all the product information is there, Google just has a better idea of what you're trying to do. Your ads will look better, you'll get better placements, Google will reward you. So you'll essentially have better metrics and more revenue by not even really touching the campaign setup yet or doing anything with the spend. So
okay.
this is like more of an efficiency thing. That's why also it comes from, yeah, building the foundation, then optimizing the feed, and then we actually move to the campaign setup only.
Okay, very good. What are some tips and tricks that you learned over the years as it relates to optimizing the ad in a Google Shopping campaign? I know there's a number of different, I don't even know if they're called features or whatnot, but where you can add like free shipping, or maybe there's some certain hacks with the image for the product that you found is can be helpful. Maybe you can provide some tips as it relates to the ad itself.
Yeah, for sure. The main three things are definitely, first of all, the title. Google gets a lot of information from the title, and so it needs to be full of all the possible kind of keywords that people might be looking for. Your product features, is it again, the size, the color, the use case, the brand name, the whatever that you can put in the title that is relevant. It should be really full with keywords. I see brands just leaving the whole title totally empty, just having like two words in there, which is
Yeah.
just like, it's again just a waste. So definitely the product title comes first. And then the second would be the image. With the image, the thing is that the default setting for people is just to use the product image with a white background, and like that's it. What I've seen or what we've seen work much better is when the product is in like a lifestyle photo kind
Mm,
of thing, where the product is either wearing like the model is wearing the product, or the product is being used somehow, but basically you show how the product would actually look like and how
yeah.
it's being used, as opposed to just having the like a static image of a white background and just the product. So it just helps you stand out. It's kind of I could compare it to like the first 3 seconds of meta ad, right?
Yeah.
Like you need to catch the attention. So that's essentially what it does when people Google something and then they see the product listings and one of them has different background or like it looks just better. It's more zoomed in maybe.
Yeah.
That also makes a difference. And then the third option or like the third thing to implement is definitely the reviews. And I cannot stress this enough
Mm.
because this is something that most brands already have. They have spent like years collecting these reviews, right? So you might
Yep.
as well upload them and just have them right next to your listing because this also just gives so much social proof and so much trust. Like people don't buy from random brands anymore. They really want to make sure. And all of this just works in your favor because you only pay after the click, right? So
Yeah.
you it's good when people click and they already trust you, right? So
Yes.
you kind of earned the click before. So yeah, these three things would be the main ones to definitely like that's a no-brainer.
Okay. And it's interesting. I've only been in the e-commerce space, the nutrition space within e-commerce. Have you seen, I don't think I've ever seen, and it could just be the little niches that I've been in, but have you seen people use lifestyle in kind of supplement nutrition type spaces?
Definitely, yeah. I think
Okay. Interesting.
I've at least, a lifestyle can mean many different things. At least playing around with the background, not to have a plain white background, but
Right.
something more interesting. There is this cool brand Space Goods, and I'm not sure if I'm making it up right now or I just actually remember seeing that ad, but I think that they did something with the background.
Okay.
But yeah, just being creative a little bit. You need to be careful with the text because sometimes it can be flagged if there's too much text in the image. At least play around with the background.
Okay, very good. So once you have the ad good or kind of ready to go, what's the next step? Is it targeting or is there another component there?
So when you have all the product feed optimized, typically that's when we go into the actual campaign setup build out.
Okay.
And obviously that depends on your brand and what are you trying to do with it. But typically for e-commerce D2C brands, it looks like mostly Google Shopping. So either a standard shopping campaign or a performance max campaign with assets or a performance max campaign with feed only without any assets, just shopping, right? And it's typically one or some of these three.
Sure.
And that also depends on what has been working before in the account. There's no like one strategy. Yeah, typically we like to test this out, which setup actually works better. Yeah, so heavily shopping, additional search, and that's usually branded search or non-branded search, and maybe also a competitor search, and then additionally also YouTube, typically through a demand gen campaign lately. So yeah, it starts with that's kind of how the campaign setup looks like. Yeah, in a nutshell, I suppose.
Okay. Walk us through some tips to make sure you're creating a successful campaign on PMax. That's an area where I feel like there's a lot of wasted spend that I've heard about. What are your thoughts on really making sure that works well?
Yeah, that is definitely a topic that has been discussed a lot. So, yeah, a couple of things. There are the brand exclusions that you can put on right now. And that wasn't the case before when they actually launched the campaign. There was no way how you could exclude your brand terms. Right now you can. And this is typically done just in the settings, or you can also contact the support. Sometimes we still see that even though the brand exclusions are in place, you still get the branded terms, even though you've excluded them. So then I would also talk with support or with your rep and just say, hey, like this is not okay, right? So we've seen this a lot in the last couple of months. So definitely just keep an eye on that to check your insights. What kind of search terms are you actually getting? When does it convert? And then also using scripts. And there's many different kind of scripts you can find from some LinkedIn Google Ads gurus. Yeah, basically you install a script on Google and you can see there's like a Google Sheets, basically a page, and you can sort of see which channel from the PMax are you getting sales from, where is the most of your spend going to? Is it shopping? Is it display? Or is it search or YouTube? You can kind of have a bit more visibility there.
Mhm.
And this has helped us a lot. And again, this is not 100%, accurate, but still it kind of gives you some idea of like, oh, I'm spending, so much money on display and there's no conversions coming in, so maybe I should cut it off, right? So
Right.
that kind of thing. Yeah, I think those two things would probably be my biggest suggestions. And then just deciding where you want to go. Is it just product? Is it a feed only campaign where you just have shopping, or is it the full performance max campaign with the assets? And typically, when a client has those assets, when they are running meta ads with like static and video image ads, I suggest that we try the full PMax, because if it really starts going, then it's really good, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, sometimes when you want to take a more careful approach, I also suggest a product feed. Yeah, just the feed only campaigns, because that's more efficient in a way, and you kind of getting those lowest hanging fruits first,
Right.
and then you can maybe transition into a full PMax campaign.
Yeah, because there would be a lot of, I would think, scalability with a regular PMax campaign if you can get it dialed in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the idea, right?
Yeah.
But both Google and Facebook or Meta these days are like they just launched campaign types that are black boxes.
Yeah.
You have very little idea what's actually going on there, right? So yeah, it's a bit of a fight against those platforms right now.
Yeah. And what are some other kind of tips that you recommend with Google Shopping? Is there a next step there that you like to walk through?
Yeah, the next step would probably just be keeping a close eye on how the setup looks like in terms of your product, how your products are segmented. Because
Mm.
there are a couple of things how we divide it. It's either by the product price. So if you're running, let's say, 100 products and 20 of them are much higher price point than the others, we definitely segment them as well. Like we have one asset group just for the high AOV products,
Okay.
or even a one campaign for that. That also sometimes can be the case, that there's a separate campaign just for the high AOV products, and then there's a separate campaign for the low AOV products.
Okay.
And that can be also segmented by product category. So if you would have like a sports equipment store, you have like one campaign for shoes only, one campaign for t-shirts or something, but basically keep them segmented in some manner, because you cannot just have all the products uploaded in one
Right.
campaign and just say, let it run and expect great results. You need to have some kind of a logical strategy behind it. And this is also one of the biggest mistakes I see when I audit an account, is that there's just you take a look at the product level and the same product is in like seven different campaigns,
Mm.
and essentially just kind of doing the same thing all over again.
Yeah.
So yeah, definitely segmentation would be one. And yeah, segmentation in terms of brand and non-brand, and then segmentation in terms of the product level. Is it the price? Is it the product category? Or yeah, something of that sort.
Okay. Now walk me through targeting strategies, your keyword targeting strategies. And I'll give you an example for a company I own, just because I understand that and I'm curious how it would work if you were to manage it. So we sell CBD products. A popular product would be a CBD gummy. Obviously, if somebody does a search for CBD gummies, we would want to show up, but we may also want to have campaigns for things like stress supplement or anxiety supplement, kind of like the benefits that people are looking for when taking our product. How would you allocate budget for like the direct search for the product we have, which would be CBD gummies, versus kind of the benefit approach, which would be the stress supplement or products to help stress, things like that?
Yeah. Okay, that's a good question. Well, these more top of funnel keywords like stress and sleep or anxiety, that is more top of funnel. So you will need to spend more money on them to kind of see results.
Right.
So what I would try to do is I would try to create a setup that maximizes the high intent keywords like CBD gummies and all that stuff, or buy CBD gummies, like a very high intent keyword, right? Try to maximize those. And then once you have good results and you can allow to basically increase the budget or scale in some way, then I would start to build out this more top of funnel approach. And I would do it either by search campaigns or dedicated shopping campaigns where you target only those keywords, or like not only those keywords, but you focus on those top of funnel keywords, more focus on the actual benefits of the product, not about the product itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's probably how I would do it. Yeah, does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And I'm curious, with these top of funnel campaigns, what sort of ROAS could the average business owner expect for something, if we were like for us targeting stress, anxiety, sleep.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. Whenever
Yeah,
somebody asks me about ROAS, that's a very individual case, right?
sure.
Because we do have clients where 1.5, 1.7 is enough and they
Yeah.
are happy. They're like, okay, we break even, this is fine. We just need to acquire customers. For some people, they first of all look at the whole account together. So
Mm,
branded, not branded, they don't care. But
sure.
they're like, oh, 8x is actually not enough for me. So
Yeah.
it's a very difficult
Yeah.
or a very different cases, right? So, but generally, top of funnel, yeah, like anything from 1.7 to 2.5, 3.
Yep.
3 is already like a lot for top of funnel, but
Yeah.
2, 2.5, that's what we are seeing in our accounts, and that can be achieved typically, yeah, after like a few months of trying, basically.
Okay, that's awesome. And one of the things that, the average business owner needs to think about is the lifetime value, right? And, I think a lot of people have this mentality that they have to make money on the first sale. And obviously, if you can, awesome. But if you really want to start scaling your business and you look at any successful direct to consumer company, they're really focused on lifetime value. They recognize that they may break even or even lose a little bit of money on that first sale because they know their lifetime value extremely well and they're willing to spend a lot in order to acquire more customers, recognizing that they're going to make a lot of money on the back end over time.
Yeah, I see that as well. Definitely, some people are very strict on like we need to make profit on the first sale or we need to
Sure.
break even on the first sale, and I get that. But obviously, it's much more comfortable for us as well when there's a more of a holistic approach of yeah, we just need to acquire a customer and then we know it's gonna pay off and that kind of thing, which is something that we typically see more with high AOV brands, but maybe that's also related that we try to work more with high AOV brands. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay. I want to talk about competitor bidding a little bit. We have competitors bidding on our products. We're bidding on competitors' products. Tends to be a lower, return activity. What has been your experience with it?
yeah, it is like it is like you say, it's not the first thing I recommend at
Yeah.
all. It is better to find your own piece of the pie than to try competitor bidding. Yeah, typically definitely not the first campaign, but somewhere along the way when you already see some results and then sometimes the founder specifically wants to try it out, we can set it up, but yeah, it's not going to be the campaign that like changes your business,
Right.
it's going to get some extra revenue.
Yeah.
You again might break even, maybe make some profit. You might, steal the customer, which is
Right.
great. It's not going to be like a scaling campaign. That's really not an easy thing to do. And yeah, sometimes you see, especially in the SaaS space, not so much, I guess, in e-commerce, but you see this competitiveness where one company is targeting the other company's keywords, and then they're like, oh yeah, this is a better alternative in
Yeah.
the copy, right? So there is some funny stuff that you see sometimes, but yeah, that's pretty much my
Yeah.
experience.
And what else? Any other, kind of steps in this process to create a successful shopping campaign?
Just, of course, like a lot of testing with the targeting, applying the in-market audiences that Google provides you, constantly checking for new keywords that you can think of and apply them both in targeting and in product titles. And there is one strategy that I want to talk about more. Yeah, it's about the product titles and kind of how you can maximize the search volume
Okay.
for them. This is something called the product duplication strategy. So what you do is essentially you duplicate products on the GMC side and you use different kind of titles for each duplicated copy. So for example, you would have again running shoes or like let's say shoes, but you can search for them in like many different ways. So running shoes, hiking shoes, shoes to go outside, whatever. There are many different ways how you can look for your product. And what's best is to relate exactly to that search query. So when people write running shoes, it's good that product title also says running shoes, right? So
Yes.
you want to be as relevant as possible. So that's why this strategy is called, yeah, basically you duplicate the products, you use many different or like your main angles that people might search for when it comes to your product. And in that way, you kind of cover more ground of this search volume. So this is something that we've been using this year and that works pretty well. Yeah, that's something that I wanted to share as well.
And so, I mean, it seems like this can be a very time-consuming process to get in there, to build all these out, test new things. I mean, how much time on average are you spending per campaign? or per client, I should say,
Oh, that's
to
an
do it
interesting.
well? I mean, if a business owner really is like, hey, I want to crush it, like what sort of
Mm.
commitment is this?
That's wow. Yeah, that's a good question. I think it really, I do see a correlation of the spend, right? Because the more they spend, the more effort it takes, obviously. So if we have like an account that's spending 200, 300,000 a month, we definitely will spend a lot of time on it. And also the biggest or like the most time consuming part is the setup, right? Because you need to go through everything that we just went through, right? Like the
Right.
foundation, the feed optimization, especially if the feed is or like the product list is huge. That's why great tools like this Symproses and others, Data Feed Watch, that comes in play because you can basically you need to optimize all the products, but it takes so much time. So yeah, the initial setup takes the most time, and then on a weekly or on a daily basis, you have optimizations that you do. Yeah, I'm not really sure how much exactly for
Sure.
each account, right? But yeah, the bigger the spend, the more time you're going to spend on it for sure. Yeah, but Google also just generally takes time. So this is what we need to remind our clients and people we talk with all the time that we need like if we take over a fresh account or we take over an account, we need 1, 2, 3 months to like really get it going. And for each month, there's like topic almost that we're trying to do. So for month one is rebuilding things and really like setting the ground. Then month two is sort of learning from that first month. And then month three is something around that time where we can start to see some room for maybe scaling or maybe like aggressive increase in spend, that sort of thing. So Google in general takes time, and that's something that sometimes people don't want to accept.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that, especially on the SEO side, which is my primary background. So
Oh yeah, that's even
not a
more.
fan of that. Yeah. So talk to us about YouTube ads. What are you guys doing right now that's really working well for direct to consumer brands?
Yeah. So what we're doing that's working well is running YouTube Shorts specifically through demand gen campaigns. And there's really no big rocket science there, to be honest, because most of the time we just take creatives that work on Meta
Yeah.
and we apply the same or like similar copy angles or that kind of thing to, or even upload the same videos on YouTube and we run those demand gen campaigns. We see how the performance is, what's happening, and then yeah, then that's pretty much what's worked the best. We don't try to reinvent the wheel necessarily. There's always something running on Meta, right? And
Yeah.
that is sometimes the primary channel. So the testing has been done already. You can just kind of apply the same thing on Google. What I can say about it is that it does require a lot of budget, and these results can sometimes be even longer to
Mm.
see than normal campaigns. So this is also something, not something that I recommend from the get-go, but more like month three, month four, month five, when we already have set the ground and we're looking to expand, we're looking to scale, right? We're looking to unlock a new channel.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is specifically for YouTube Shorts. Yeah, just want to mention that it takes a lot of time sometimes.
And how do you feel like the ROAS compares between Meta and YouTube Shorts? If you have kind of a successful campaign on Meta, let's say you're getting a 1x, 1.5x return, how does that generally translate over to YouTube? Is it a similar return?
I would say that averagely what we see on average what we see is somewhere between 1.5 to like maybe 2.3, 2.5
Sure.
sometimes. Again, it's not like a crazy 5x ROAS kind of thing, right? But nothing is anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is just a top of funnel approach. And when you see a creative that works, it can work for some time. We don't find it that you need to change it as much as you need to do it on Meta, right? You need to do constant creative testing. On YouTube, it's sort of, at least in our experience, it's like if there is a best performer from Meta, it's going to work for some time. You don't need to necessarily change it every week as you sometimes do on Meta. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And when you say you have to start with kind of a more sizable budget, how much is a good starting point?
So typically, the number that we are suggesting is about 5 times your CPA
Hmm.
per day.
Okay.
So like if your CPA is like yeah $10, then like $50 a day, but that depends, right? But basically the idea is to give Google quite a lot of leeway and quite a lot of spend so it can learn faster, right? Yeah, that's why sometimes these can be a bit expensive, these campaigns. And yeah. that just takes time.
So that 5 times my CPA, which is my cost per acquisition number on Meta, you're saying that's what I would spend on YouTube?
So yeah, your cost per acquisition
Okay.
5 times per as a daily budget for this campaign.
Okay. Interesting. And it sounds to me like the way this works is you kind of just figure out maybe what works on Meta and just kind of throw it into YouTube Shorts. Is there any other special, dials, features that you have to do, or is it really AI driven, kind of like Meta, where you're like, they're just going to figure this out, which is why it takes so long?
Well, it is heavily AI driven for sure. What you need to make sure is that if you're gonna test YouTube Shorts on demand gen, that you are only running YouTube Shorts, because the default setting is that you also have the feed and the more options basically that's gonna put you in all the placements. You want to make sure that you choose YouTube Shorts only. That's like a small detail, but overall, it's really what's working the best is just repurposing those same creatives on YouTube as well. Yeah.
Okay. And what sort of scalability have you guys found with YouTube Shorts in terms of budget? Like, how much have you been able to get up to profitably as well? But, what sort of daily spend have you guys been able to get your clients to?
Daily spend, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to share that now. I would say that still percentage-wise, still shopping is the leader.
Yep.
Shorts, it hasn't taken over shopping. Shopping is still like probably 60, 70, 80% of the account. Then it's search/YouTube. So yeah, that's kind of how the whole percentage looks like.
Okay. Okay. Very good. Are there any other kind of secrets to success with YouTube Shorts that you can share?
With YouTube Shorts, honestly, not really. No, that's pretty much the basic, or like the base what we're working with. And yeah, just a lot of testing. If you just have meta creatives, just give it a go, because it might turn into a new channel that you're unlocking as, yeah, not putting it just in the PMax, but actually as a separate campaign.
Yep.
And see where it goes.
Okay. One of my favorite questions to ask, Kris, is what are the top 1% of your clients have in common? What are the things that you feel like your most successful, maybe 1 or 2 clients have done that has allowed them to be successful with you?
Well, I think this is a bit of a twofold question, because as far as clients go, definitely more high AOV Googleable product. So
Okay.
as opposed to just like regular fashion or skincare, that would probably work more on Meta, which is like more of an impulse purchase, maybe.
Right.
Google is better when you have like a very niche brand. I don't know, something like outdoors, hiking, sleep. Yeah, some kind of like functionality more to it. That's from the client side. From our side, if it's really been about the non-brand stuff and the product feed optimization. Those two things we've been really preaching them, and we've been educating our clients about it and people in general. And once people understand that Google can be a top of funnel channel, that's where we start to see the results. But yeah, otherwise people just sometimes think it's, as I said, it's just a remarketing channel, but it's not the case anymore.
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well, Kris, thank you so much for being here today. What's the best way for people to either get in touch with you or to follow you?
Usually just LinkedIn. Yeah, I try to be pretty active there.
Okay, excellent. Well, thank you so much again.
Thank you so much.